He started choking her and was about to sexually assault her when another car showed up.
I have knowledge of the law. I know what kind of murder.
Welcome to CSL TV. Walmart has announced this week that you no longer need a college degree to be eligible for some of those white-collar jobs that pay, like around $100,000 a year. So, with that being said, if you think about making a career out of motherfucking Walmart, you ain't gotta have a degree now. They're giving everybody a fair chance.
This story is tragic, and I have to warn you, the video is disturbing. This is 32-year-old Ryan Carson, who moved from Boston to New York City in 2010 to attend school. As an activist focused on sustainability and environmental policies, he worked to make the city a better place. But his life took a tragic turn this week. On Sunday, he and his girlfriend attended a wedding on Long Island before making their way back to Brooklyn. The two can be seen sitting on a bus stop bench just before 4 a.m. on Monday when this guy in the hood walks by. Right after he passes, they get up and head down the block in the same direction. That's when the guy starts kicking over scooters parked near the curb. As they approach the guy, he says, "This is where things take a turn." Again, this footage is disturbing. The guy gets up in Ryan's face as he tries to push him away. That's when Ryan trips over the bus stop bench and the guy stabs him. The guy then gets in the girlfriend's face, even spitting on her, still holding the knife. He then kicks Ryan one last time before leaving. A nearby woman who seemingly knew the suspect apologizes.
"I'm so sorry."
The video cuts out as the girlfriend kneels over her boyfriend's body. He was taken to the hospital, but it was too late. The stab wound had pierced his heart. As of now, no arrests have been made. Police haven't found the suspect or the murder weapon. Media report that the man who stabbed and killed Ryan was suffering from mental illness. As you may know, it's hard to get mental health care in the United States even if you have decent insurance, and almost impossible if you have no health insurance at all. The NIH estimates that nearly 30% of the unhoused population has a chronic mental illness. Meanwhile, insurance companies are raking it in. Last year alone, big insurance companies made over $69 billion in profit. Critics say some industries like mental health care and the healthcare industry in general shouldn't be a business at all, where wealthy capitalists make trillions off the backs of sick and dying workers. Back in New York, over 150 people attended an impromptu vigil for Ryan, and friends said it was remarkable how much he did for the city and his friends. He'd once walked 500 miles across the state, raising $20,000 for No OD New York, a campaign to get legislation passed for the first overdose prevention facility in New York. Friends said he was someone who would help out a guy like the one that ultimately murdered him.
Damn, mental health is so real because that guy right there fucking stabbed him for no reason and they just was minding their own business now. Mental health is something that's very serious and a lot of people is going through it. So with that being said, y'all be careful out there. I mean, they ain't even say nothing to my man. He just turned around, started snapping and acting crazy. So you should always watch your environment when you out and about in the world. Because, man, this just randomly happened. I mean, this is so fucked up on so many levels. Man, my condolences go to him because this definitely wasn't gun violence. A knife took this man's life.
He started choking her and was about to sexually assault her when another car showed up.
I have knowledge of the law. I know what kind of murder it takes to get the death penalty.
It is to Jacksonville that we're off to. The address being 3551 Bowden Circle in South Jacksonville. The Tillis family had actually lived there for decades. Russell turned the house into a fortress, making sure no one could see exactly what he was up to in there. But though they couldn't see, they could hear. They could hear screaming. A lot of screaming. The neighbors lived in fear of that house. He would threaten those around him all the time. He'd jump their fences, watch them in their gardens. They were terrified. Women were constantly going to and from the house, some sticking around for a little bit, others never seen again. There were times when women would run from the Tillis house, naked and screaming for help. Born in 1962, he lived at that same house of horrors as a kid.
So you mean to tell me this weird guy up here talking about he know what to do about this type of murder and that type of murder, but I ain't gonna say too much because we don't know too much yet. But if you haven't already, subscribed to the channel, like, comment down below. We about to get into some content from that chapter, you know what I'm saying? So let's get.
Growing up there with his brother Claude and his parents. His daddy-o, Claude Sr., was a drunk. He was abusive, sexually abusive even, to his wife and his two sons, Claude Jr. and Russell. When Russell's mother, Margie, figured out what her husband was doing to their two sons, she made them go live in the trailer out back and told them never to open the door to their dad. After growing out of a special school for troubled kids and then juvenile, he decided to up sticks and get as far away from Jacksonville as he could, landing in California in 1981. In California, he met a girl, 16-year-old Shannon Brinkley, 3 years his junior. They hit it off when they met at a social welfare office, and soon were an item, with Shannon eventually becoming pregnant. And as things started out well, it turned out he was cooking meth, getting high on his own supply. When Shannon discovered this, she took their baby boy and left. And so after that, Russell decided to up sticks once more and head back home to northern Florida. His family, his parents still lived there, his brother lived there. In 1989, Russell was charged and convicted of kidnapping. One night, Russell was driving along the interstate, and he decided to be a good Samaritan by picking up a lady whose car had broken down. He offered to take her to the nearest gas station. Instead, he drove her to a building site he worked at, and then he attacked her. He started choking her and was about to sexually assault her when another car showed up. In 1990.
Now, before we get into this 1993 shit of what he did, I'm sorry for anybody that was in this monster's past, just for the simple fact. You hear how he was talking in the beginning, y'all, about, you know what I'm saying, he know what to do, and all these women who just was in a messed up, point, and he offered for help when really he wasn't even helping them. So before we get into this 1993, I just gotta say, I feel bad and I feel sorry for anybody that encountered people like this, anybody that's going through some domestic stuff or that's been in this monster, like I said, path.
In 1993, he did do jail time for burglary. Once released, he was out for an entire year before ending back up in the slammer in 1999. This time, breaking and entering and Grand Theft Auto. He got served with 5 years of his life. This time, he would learn the law and use it against the law, going through and devouring as many legal books as he could in the prison library. He wanted to have all this knowledge so that next time, and he knew there would be a next time, he'd know the law inside and out and use it for his advantage. So he was out in 2004. In March 2006, a 14-year-old girl needed a ride home. She had missed the school bus. Russell Tillis happened to be driving by and pulled over. She got in and he drove to a car park, hit her, and told her to strip. And so she thought to herself, the only way she would be able to survive this was if she told Russell that she was a sex worker and that violence wasn't necessary, she would do whatever he wanted her to do. Eventually, he dropped her off, not at her real address, and she reported it to the police. A sketch was made up, and they also got Russell's DNA.
That little girl brave as hell, y'all, and she's smart as fuck. Whoever raising her, hey, big congratulations to you for raising such a smart, outstanding little girl. Just for the simple fact, she outsmarted this scumbag and was able to get this now.
It was almost 2 years later that they finally brought him in.
So the names don't really mean much. I mean, you pick a girl up, you have sex with her, you drop her off. The name is irrelevant, really. And the age of the victim, the alleged victim, be minor. Nowhere near the legal age for you.
He got an entire 4 years for that one. When he got out in 2012, he moved back to 3551 Bowden Circle. He turned it into a castle. Neighbors would constantly hear machinery, drilling, and, screaming. The neighbors lived in fear. Some even filed injunctions for protection against Russell. He would threaten to kill them on the reg. Russell would often call ladies of the night over, sex workers. Some would be addicts. On more than one occasion, Russell's sex workers / addicts, they would wake up in Russell's house, chained to a bed. He would keep them as sex slaves in his house, only escaping when, Russell would forget to do the locks all the way. Twice, they would manage to escape naked and screaming, banging on the neighbors' doors, telling them that Russell was going to kill them. It was in 2015 that Russell was finally arrested. It was for violating neighbors' restraining orders. On the night of May 28, 2015, the police said, lure him into a trap. They started throwing rocks at his gaff, hoping, he might pop the head out, have a go, see what this ruckus was about. And he did.
Officers went to a residence at 3551 Bowden Circle East to arrest Russell David Tillis, a white male, age 55, who had 2 outstanding misdemeanor warrants. Russell Tillis armed himself with 2 knives and then began to violently resist arrest with the officers. He was taken into custody. He was charged with aggravated assault, battery on a law enforcement officer, and several additional charges.
All the charges combined would be a life sentence at Russell's age. Russell said he ran away from them. He got scared because they didn't identify themselves as police.
Well, the cops appeared across the street from my house about 1 o'clock in the morning, dressed in all black, not marked as police officers. They threw 1-pound rocks over the fence on top of a metal roof of my home. When I come out to investigate the disturbance, they were hiding in the bushes. They made a rush attempt to grab me, and I ran. I didn't know who it was. They ran me down and beat me up. And I believe that's the photograph the state showed the jury. Leaves all in my hair, dirt on my shoulder. I got beat up pretty good.
So Russell was now in jail, right, 2015, going into 2016, on myriad charges. And it appears, while in jail, he became, well, depressed.
Yeah, the depression was present from the arrest, but escalated very quickly in the first 3-4 months. So I traded about, 10 trays of food, got me about 1,000 milligrams, and I ate them. All 1,000 milligrams. I figured that was enough to kill me.
And after that, right, bright spark, he had an idea. Russell went to another inmate, a fella named Sammy Evans. Sammy was in jail facing a life sentence of his own. So Russell went to Sammy and said, hey, I'll help your case. I'll help your case, using my law knowledge if you help me. Help me get the death penalty. Russell came up with a plan to confess to some cooked up, heinous crimes that would get him the injection, instead of slowly dying behind bars for 30 years on the aggravated assault charges and all that.
And I want the death penalty because I'm fixing to get this 30 years and I don't want to die a slow death in prison. I'll get the death penalty and I won't die that slow death in prison.
Okay, so what happened?
Well, I told him pretty much the details of it. Murder itself does not always constitute a death penalty. I have knowledge of the law. I mean, I'm not that smart, but I do have some workable knowledge of the law. I know about aggravators. I know about the law. I know how to read the law. I know what kind of murder it takes to get the death penalty. And I have enough knowledge of the police in Duval County to know that once they find a body, the rush to justice, they don't care about any other facts. I relied upon that.
Sammy was then wired up, by the detectives, and on the 5th of February 2016, he passed Russell a note in jail saying, I'm wired. It's go time. And so Russell started talking. He talked about kidnapping, sexual assault, sex trafficking, multiple murders, and dismemberments. Russell drew Sammy a map of the house at Bowden Circle, and described where there was a body. This made its way back to the police, and they got a warrant to search the property. And guess what? They found a body. With the help of DNA, it was determined to be that of Joni Lynn Gunter.
Now, before we get into this person, who beautiful soul was taken from this world, Earth, I should say. This dude really did. They should have just gave him the death penalty just for the simple fact how he was talking and stuff, because he really shouldn't be out here. And that's sad that he worked up a plan to be able to get it and to help somebody that was facing, what they was facing. So it's crazy world, man.
The autopsy report showed that Joni's cause of death was multiple blunt force trauma injuries to the head, at least 5. Now Russell was charged with first-degree murder.
Did you murder the woman who was found buried in your backyard?
No, I did not, nor have I murdered anybody else.
And did you have anything to do with those human remains ending up on your property?
That remains to be seen in the future.
Meaning what?
Meaning that.
He was found guilty of premeditated first-degree murder, as well as abuse of a dead body and kidnapping. He got 2 life sentences plus 30 years. Thank you so much for watching. Please look after yourselves. Stay safe. I love you. Mike.
Man, that's crazy. I wonder if he really wanted to get this type of sentence anyway and was using like some mind thing to trick them that he wanted the death penalty. In reality, he wanted this. But that's weird, man. Man, that is so weird. You never understand why people go around killing people and murdering people.